I'd welcome Air Force veteran John Rose, founder of D1 Training. John got some great things to talk about, doing some good things in personal fitness and athletic training going on. Look forward to hearing about all that. Before we do that, take us back and tell us what you did in the Air Force.
Yes, I was a digital network exploitation analyst in the Air Force. So for 20 years, worked in a lot of secure facilities.
Digital network exploitation. Can you even tell us what that is?
Yeah, just a cyber intelligence analyst.
Yeah,
The easiest thing to say.
all the paperwork stuff. So you were in the Air Force long enough to retire.
Yes.
Yeah. And so as you're transitioning out of the Air Force, you're retiring. Makes it easier in some ways, harder than others, because you're probably older than the 4 year typical enlistment. But as you were retiring, what were some of the things you were thinking? Were you wanting to go out and get a job, or looking forward to taking some time off? What was your transition like?
Yeah, I took advantage of the SkillsBridge program that the DOD offers active duty military members 6 months prior to their enlistment being up. So I took advantage of that, did an internship at a company, offered a job at the company doing government contracting.
Mhm.
So I went to work full time as I was on terminal leave, actually. So I really didn't take a break.
Yeah. Hey, talk a little bit about this Skills Bridge program. We've mentioned that on the show a few times before, but I want to hear just a brief, in your own words, a brief explanation of exactly what the Skills Bridge program is, because I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there within a year or two of transitioning that may not have even heard of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the DoD SkillsBridge program is offered to military members to try to get them back into the career field. It doesn't have to be something they did in the military. It could be something completely different. They've had people go to breweries to learn how to be a brewmaster. People to go work for Caterpillar to learn how to order parts, and it could be something completely different outside their wheelhouse that they did while they were in service. They allow you to do up to 180 days prior to your exit service date,
Uh-huh.
and to include your terminal leave. So if you have a lot of terminal leave, like I did, I had about 90 days of terminal leave. That means I only got about 90 days of skills bridge on the front end of taking that terminal leave. So you have to take it together. You don't get to do 6 months of skills bridge and then add your terminal to the end of that. So
Uh-huh. And the nice thing is the military continues to pay your regular salary that you'd be getting paid if you were still back at your command, but you're actually working for another company.
correct. Get all the same benefits. You're still actively employed, like you're on active duty. All your health care benefits and everything. You just don't get paid by the company you're interning for.
That's yeah. So it's a good deal for the company that you're doing the internship for, a good deal for the military member. And it's a great program, a hands-on OJT kind of scenario. And I imagine most of the time it probably, I mean, if you're a right fit for the company that you're working for, you're probably a shoe in for a job, when it comes to it comes to the end, which is really the ideal. And even if you're not, at least you figured out something that you definitely don't want to do.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The agreements that the companies, they have to be vetted, obviously, in order to participate in the Skills Bridge program. The agreement is that they have to have a position available for the intern to fill. That doesn't guarantee you that they will offer you the position, though. So
Sure. Yeah. Do you know where the starting point is for somebody that wants to look into participating in the Skills Bridge program?
yeah, absolutely. So your base education office and or what the Air Force uses is family readiness facilities would have additional information regarding the Skills Bridge program. I believe they also have a great website as well, just a DoD Skills Bridge webpage. Military One Source may also have a link to that page as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Highly recommended. I've heard nothing but great things about it. So, interviewed quite a few people that resulted in a job. And I think I remember interviewing one guy who it helped him realize, yeah, this industry wasn't for him. It's not what he wanted to do. So that was, you know, a good thing too. So either way, it can work out pretty nice. So you rolled into some type of government contracting job. Um, was that a good fit for you? And did you continue to do that for a while? And then where did this whole entrepreneurship thing come from?
Yeah, so I started, like I say, started work before I actually went on terminal leave. Um, with the company as a government contractor. That was a good fit for me. It was similar operations to what I was doing while I was active duty, um, working on cyber mission teams, things of that nature. So that wasn't anything new to me. Um, I continue to do that today, just in a different capacity of project manager on a contract now, with an Air Force contract. However, my daughters kind of steered me into the direction of this training world. Right, I have two daughters in club sports. I see a lot of individual kids, athletes getting additional training outside of just their sport specific training, as far as the technical training goes. So I was kind of interested in that. I wanted to see what that was about. So I started digging into it a little bit. My daughters actually started going to a facility similar to a D1 in town. It just happened to be very far away from us, uh, on the other side of town, kind of thing. So the more I dug into it, the more I realized, well, maybe this is an opportunity for me to do something in my community and bring it to our side of town. So
Uh-huh. And I noticed in your bio you did play college baseball for a little while at least before you went into the Air Force. So you um you were a fairly accomplished athlete yourself at least at some point. So you're a little bit somewhat familiar with the training required and the whole Division One concept in NCAA sports. Um, how much of a learning process was it for you working with your daughters, trying to figure out what kind of training was best for them and what kind of focus, where was your focus?
yeah, so for me, just growing up, small towns, looking for an opportunity to go to the collegiate level and play. I played at an NAIA college in Missouri before joining the Air Force, and it was more just on talent, right? Based on talent. We didn't have those things when I grew up, as far as like speed and agility, strength and conditioning type training
Yeah.
for younger athletes. That really didn't exist back then. Specifically for my youngest daughter, she plays club soccer. I wanted to see her get her running movements down correctly, that technique done correctly. For my older daughter, who plays volleyball and golf, I wanted to make sure she also was participating and taking advantage of that strength and conditioning programming as well. So between the two, we found, this is something that they needed. It would help them in their individual sports or other sports that they wanted to try, just as far as like coordination, agility, lateral quickness, things like that. So that's kind of how we got involved with just figuring out there was something else that they needed to do other than just the technical training for the sport specifically.
All right, back talking with Air Force veteran John Rose. So, and you're with D1 training. So you knew your daughters needed more training. They wanted some more focused training. Both your daughters are into sports, and you wanted to get them that training, driving across town, and all the things that go along with that. Uh, wasn't working too well. So did you try to start your own gym? Did you try to start your own facility at the beginning, or how did you end up finding D1 training as a franchisee?
Yeah, so I started doing a lot of research to see what other franchises were out there initially, not just the ones that my daughters were going to, but what else existed. I came across D1 that way. Started doing more research, reached out to them actually for more information, and they were, on the ball as far as getting me that information, making sure I was on certain calls with other owners, just as a prospect, essentially, to be a franchise owner. So they were feeding me lots of information. So
Yeah. So what talk through the decision making process of did you want to start your own gym or did you want to go with a D1 training franchise? And what how come you chose going with D1 instead of starting your own place?
yeah, absolutely. So for me, not a business major, don't have a financial degree or anything background in business. I knew that for me, I wanted something that was more plug and play, where it's like, you just hand me the tools and I just implement them. So that's really what attracted me to the franchising part of it. I didn't have to create the brand out of scratch to get the name recognition or anything like that. It already existed, and then I could just take advantage of those resources as a franchisee.
Yeah. Know thy weaknesses. So that's good on you. And how beneficial was it? Like, you plugged into the franchise. You got your franchise up and running. They provide training and information for you. How much of a wake up call was it for you, and how beneficial was their business acumen that they were able to bring to your business for you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They had a lot of things with this franchise specifically that attracted me to D1 over other gym franchises. One being that they have some military background themselves within the leadership team. The COO, Dan Murphy's actually a West Point grad, Army Ranger, I believe. So they have that background. They have core values, which is something that I was familiar with for the last 20 years. They use character words in the facilities. It's not just about training athletes, but also athletes of character. So there's just a lot of similarities with the military that really attracted me, to the type of culture that they were creating for the D1. So,
Mhm. And then once you're up and running, talk a little bit about some of the early days, getting new clients in, getting kids in that want to be trained, acquiring new customers.
yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll even step back a little bit further than that. Initially, so I already found the franchise I wanted to work with in D1.
Mhm.
I reached out to my Veteran Small Business Bureau, which coincidentally there's not one located in San Antonio, which is kind of odd. It's pretty far away. That organization was able to put me in contact with different financial institutions to help me set up my capital injection
Yeah.
for the business. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out due to helping me facilitate everything that goes in behind being able to own that franchise piece. When
Yeah.
it comes to the membership piece for D1s, they have a team in place to assist. We're still in pre-sales right now. Actually, we're probably over 190 members signed up, and we haven't opened the doors yet. So there's a team in place to help you facilitate getting all your systems up and running, getting the gym built out. So, like I say, there's a lot of things that they had culture wise, as far as that back end piece to help support me execute my mission, which is D1 training. So,
Yeah. So you're still in pre-sale. You haven't opened the doors yet, and you have 190 members already.
yes, sir. We're
Wow, that's awesome.
about a week away. Next Monday,
Mhm.
we should be opening the doors for the first time. So far to date, I believe we're in the top five for pre-sales all time so far. So.
Wow, what was the key to that? Just following their plan, or did you have a pretty good network there where you live as far as other athletes and networked in with your daughters?
Yeah, I would say no. So location, right? You only get to pick it once. Well, I'd say once in 10 years, depending on your lease agreement.
Yeah.
I would say know your community, know your location, know the need for it, for whatever the franchise is that you're wanting to bring in there or business. And then the other part of that is I would say control what you can control, right? So I had my team was on the phones. They were calling people back. They were giving people information, and they couldn't keep up. So I jumped in as another member on the phone, and it just came down to that mentality, of if I can assist or I can help my team in any way, then just I'll do that. So I became an extra person on the phones, calling people back, signing people up, things like that. So.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what the gym's actually like after you guys open. You got members joining. Is it just is it mostly a gym that's just focused on athletic training, so you just come and do your own thing, or are there set programs, different levels of memberships, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so absolutely. There's it's athletic based training. It's not big box gym, so we don't sell memberships for people to just walk in and use the equipment. There is scheduled classes that people will attend. We start at ages 7 and go all the way through adult. We do break up the younger ages in groups. So like the rookie class 7 to 11, the developmental class 12 to 14, and then our prep class is 15 to 18-year-olds. And then we also do adult training on top of that. In addition to those trainings, D1 also offers things like NFL combine training, sports specific speed and agility, strength and conditioning training, team training, um, private private training, personal training, as well as small group private training. So if you had like 3 volleyball players that wanted to work out together in private training, our coaches could design programming for them that would be volleyball specific strength and conditioning workouts. So.
So a lot of your programs and workouts and group workouts are just generic athletic type courses, not specific to certain sports. And then at some of the higher levels, you can get focused in on actual certain skills with certain sports.
Right. Our basic memberships always going to include a warm up, strength and conditioning, speed and agility, a core workout, and then a cool down at the end. So that's just an overall athletic based programming for any individual, not necessarily sport specific movements, but it will increase them overall athletically. For the adult classes, they're going to burn anywhere from 5 to 600 calories just for that workout. It's 54 minutes long. And then for our specific sport training programming, like you said, yes, absolutely. It's going to focus on if I have a basketball player or if I have a football player, then our coaches will design programming specific to their sports to help them facilitate, their movements in that specific field. So,
Mhm. You got any info about D1 training, like nationwide, like number of locations or franchises or anything like that?
yeah, absolutely. I think currently there's roughly about 200, 250 locations that are open nationwide right now with the constantly expanding. I will say that D1 has been on the Forbes list as a top company. It's just continues to grow. We see the need for it across the country. They have a great system set up, which just makes it easier to get into and easier to help facilitate in the communities.
Yeah. You know, um, this type of training, this type of focused training and education wasn't available when years ago when I was a young athlete. I mean, nothing like this existed, or at least in the areas that I was at, mostly Kansas City myself. So, um, and it was like I was probably into my 30s, and a buddy of mine that I'd played baseball with when we were young had worked at this baseball facility, and I went over there one time, and he's doing all this individual coaching as far as hitting practice and throwing practice, and I'm just like, holy cow, man, this stuff, nothing was like this at all. I mean, I can only imagine if that stuff had existed back when I was a kid, and some of the athletes I grew up with, that what how much better how much better we would have been with these opportunities laid out in front of us like that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think D1, spawned from. The owner, Will Bartholomew, who used to play with Peyton Manning at Tennessee and then went to the Denver Broncos, saw the need, I think, back in 2001 for these types of facilities. And slowly over the years, he's kind of changed what that looks like, but with the same, goals in mind, and that's to get the athletes the best workouts and training that they can possibly get. There's, Michael Orr trained at the main facility in Cool Springs, Tennessee, through high school and college. There's all kinds of players, athletes involved: Von Miller, RG3, LaDainian Tomlinson, Peyton Manning, Jason Witten, uh, Tim Tebow, Chris Paul. There's no shortage of professional athletes that are involved in some way with D1, either as owners themselves or just with the facility. So it definitely has that growth because they see the potential and they understand what it actually brings to the younger athletes specifically. So
Yeah. So you're about to open in a week or so. What comes next? What comes on opening day, and what's the follow on there? How many memberships can you go up to, or how many? You said you're already at 190 pre-sale. What's the goal as far as like your location, or what would be ideal?
I don't know that I have a ceiling right now. I think we just want to go as much as we can,
Huh?
get as many people in the facility as we can. If we hit that 300 mark, great. As far as regular membership goes, but I think, and then if we need to add hours and add classes, we'll absolutely do that to facilitate as many people as we can to come in and get their workouts. But and we also do camps, things like that over the summer. We'll do football camps and different things. But I mean, there's really no ceiling at this point. We just want to make sure we can service the community at large and assist any way we can in making sure that they get the training that they need, right? That they know their children need, or that the adults want to get in shape, just to have healthy lifestyle habits again, right? So
Yeah.
that's really what we're focused on right now, is just making sure we get that training offered to as many people as possible.
Yeah. Um, Now you said the SBA, the Small Business Administration, was instrumental in helping you get everything lined up to buy the franchise. I know the legalities of franchising and how touchy things can be. So I'm not sure what you're allowed to share. But are are you, if somebody was interested in a D1 franchise, what kind of costs are we talking about? Like, mid max, mid range, or are you allowed to share any of that information with us?
They have a range on the net worth. I'm not sure if I'm authorized to disclose. It's not crazy, right? So
Yeah.
retired enlisted member, right? E7 after, for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
I, used what's called a ROBS, which is I rolled over my thrift savings plan into 401k, and then I was able to use those funds as my capital injection for my small business administration loan. So it's possible, it's doable. It did require obviously a lot of savings on my part over the years, and my wife's as well, right? It's a partnership. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable. You just, have to have that capital injection up front, I guess, to
Yeah.
help facilitate those small business loans and stuff to help get you started. So.
So for somebody out there listening and wondering how the thrift savings roll over to the ROBS and the SBA loans work, can you share percentage? Like, did you have to put 20% down for the SBA loan? I know that's probably a typical.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. 20% injection for the SBA loan. Absolutely. Yeah, that is what the requirement is. So
And then the SBA covers the 80%.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. They cover the other 80. So you got to come to the table with something. So
Yeah, got to have skin in the game. I mean, that's
right.
no matter where you go. So, not bad. And the SBA loan process was not too long, arduous, or painful, and you had people helping you out along the way.
Um, not long can mean different things. For me, it was about 8 months. So it just depends on
It's
what your
long.
time frame for not long is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. The different people I was put in contact with through the different financial institutions, kind of walk you through everything, and they cross all the T's, dot all the I's to make sure you are good to go before they start submitting you for things, which definitely helps and helps reassure you about the loan process. But yeah, it can be very arduous and tasking at times, and feel
Uh,
like you're not gaining any traction. But when you do finally reach, that signing day for the loan paperwork, it is a great relief. I will say that. So.
so you rolled the thrift savings into the ROBS, which basically turned it into like a regular 401k. What? So you were able to pull money out of your 401k without the early withdrawal penalty?
Correct. Correct.
And
So that is
did you have
the
to?
entire process.
And did you have to? Now you had to count it as income, though, right? So you had to pay income tax on it. Is that correct?
No, no, because I stood up a C corp and that was in the 401k. That is a tax-free capital injection because you're reinvesting into a business.
Uh,
So there's no tax penalty to use that money as the capital injection.
okay, so that's what I was curious about. Like, what
Yeah.
are those SB? Like, if you're working with the SBA, that allows you to do that, or is that like an IRS thing?
Uh,
No, that's where I was
The
trying.
SBA, yeah, the SBA is not involved in that process. So
Okay.
I actually went through a financial institution I was put in contact with through the Veteran Small Business Outreach program. Put me in contact with a financial institution, and they did all my ROBS paperwork for me. They even did my business name filing for me with the state of Texas. So I just handed over them the information they needed, and then they took care of everything. So.
And this isn't a veteran specific thing, is it? The actual, once you get it, I mean, coming out of the thrift savings plan, I know it is, but the ability to actually pull money out of the 401k vehicle without the penalty or the income tax. Uh,
Correct. I don't believe that would be a veteran specific thing.
okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, that's huge. Like those folks, they got money tied up in IRAs or thrift savings plans or 401ks, whatever, that they can actually get access to it to help fund that 20% with the SBA to buy a loan to get the loan to purchase a business. So it's good info. I don't think I'd actually heard of that before, so that's awesome. So thanks for sharing that. Um, well, we're getting close to the end of our time here. How do we find D1 training and get more information on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go to www.d1training.com.
That's letter D, number one, or
Correct. Yes.
uh,
Letter D and then the number one, and then training.com.
all right. And give you the final word. If you're talking to somebody that's in the military or on their way out, maybe they already got out, don't like where they landed, want to start their own business, get into entrepreneurship, what kind of advice comes to mind?
Research. Obviously, as an Intel analyst, I did a lot of that. So
Uh,
I would say find something that interests you, that also you're passionate about. Because if it feels like work, it's going to be work, right? But if it's something that you want to do and you don't have to do, then it's going to feel a lot like less like work and more like your passion and something that you're excited about and you can't wait to tackle each day. So
awesome. All right, John. Well, thanks for sharing. I mean, you're like right on the cusp of a week from opening. That's awesome. So, um, let's see. Today's May 8th. So are you opening on the 15th of May?
yes, sir.
All
That's
right.
the plan.
Yep. This episode's coming out on the 29th. So by the time people hear this episode, you'll already be a couple weeks into business. So that's awesome. Look forward to your future success.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
You bet. All right. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.